A state of the union. It's also a state of mind. It's called Mississippi. And it's part of my country. I can't put it down too much, but boy, does it need an upgrade. It really needs an improvement. You'll see many glistening, flapping gills on the sides of necks, twitching primordial tails underneath the overalls, one crystal meth lab per trailer court, and a lot of men with very intense relationships with their daughters and nieces. I'm just saying, I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just saying that's how the stats roll themselves out. Anyway, there was a thing that happened a while ago. I don't know if you picked up on it, because I don't know how aware you are of American facts, in that you have your big, sexy country to deal with and your own fish to fry. But this is a thing that made me very angry. And it's just typical classic Americana. A country that says it's so free, not all the time. And believe me, I don't come thousands of miles away from America to jump up and down on it. I gleefully jump up and down on it in Arkansas, in Mississippi, in South Carolina, in Florida, especially in Texas. It's so big you need to jump up extra hard up and down. Then you go, what? Anyway, so in Mississippi, there's a small town called Fulton. I don't know what the population is, but it's a small town called Fulton. In the small town of Fulton, there's a high school called Itawamba Agricultural High. At Itawamba Agricultural High, earlier this year, they were gearing up for their senior prom. And the senior prom is the last big dance before everyone leaves high school and goes into either college or their young adult life. And so you had to write down your name on a clipboard to sign up to go to the prom, so they knew how much punch to pour and how many graham crackers to bring. And a young girl, a senior at Itawamba Agricultural High named Constance, wrote her name down and said, I want to go to the prom. The faculty of Itawamba Agricultural High finds out that our girl Constance is a lesbian. And they were so horrified at the idea of a homosexual girl besmirching their otherwise heterosexual event, they canceled the entire prom. Don't be dyking it. And rather than just coming through the front door and saying, good morning, we are homophobes, and saying, this damn dyke bitch will not be allowed to go into the prom. They didn't do that because they didn't want to get the hate mail by people from all over the world burdened with common sense and a sense of decency saying, you're teachers, schooling young adults with social skills, and you're inculcating homophobia for a young American to take as a value into their adult life? Shame! And so they did it basically as a favor to the students, because no doubt they got a ton of letters. People said, you're canceling the prom because of a gay girl? Why? And they said, well, we don't care. It's the students we're concerned about. We're afraid that it might upset them if there's a gay person at the prom. After all, Constance did threaten to come to the prom in a tuxedo and bring her prom date, a chick. And so they said the students would be upset. And that reminds me of how woefully out of touch old people are when it comes to the topic of youth. And young people, have no idea what it's like to be old. And certainly, old people forget what it is like to be young. At 49 years of age, my youth is fairly far behind me. I'm not 89, but I'm not 19 anymore. But I do remember my youth to a certain degree. I can still hear some ancestral echo of my hormones when they used to jump up on their bushy, muscular hind legs and dry hump a couch. Or run through cornfields under a full moon and go, and now they kind of lay down in front of the fire whimpering as they take a long nap and do this in their sleep. As they chase rabbits in their dreams. But they no longer have the speed or the interest. And it seems to me, at your senior prom, you would be doing what a young person should be doing at the senior prom, mauling the pudenda of the date. The pudenda is the naughty bits. That's Latin. That's the one bit of Latin I retained from school. So I remember my Latin teacher going crimson when he said, pudenda, pudenda. I said, so what's pudenda? And he said, just turn it like, it is a genitalia. And we all wrote that one down, pudenda. Latin rocks. And so I don't know what you have as far as a senior prom, or if you even have such a thing, but it seems to me if you're 18 or 19 years of age, your priority is Why? Because you're some weird pervo? No, you're young. You're not dead yet, and you're not burdened with the obligation of rent, taxes, mortgage, and a cubicle you hurl yourself into, or some kid who wants food all the time. You're young, you're free, your hormones are wow! And that's why that's what you should be doing. It's how we all got here. Some guy had this amazing idea. Boing, hey, honey, look at this! You know that again? And that's how we all got here. And so, a rhetorical question to all of you. If you were at your senior prom, groping your date, no matter what you brought or what brought you to the dance, you'd be hoping for A, hot bodega groping action on the dance floor, B, hot front or backseat action after this interminable event is over. Would you be put out at all if you saw two girls fluking over there? Would your reaction be A, ah, that's disgusting, or, huh, I hope they get some too. And go back to what we were doing. I think it would be dramatic. And so, the idea of a bunch of senior high school horn dog and horn dog-ettes even giving a damn about a chick in a tuxedo groping her date, some other chick, is laughable. And so basically what Itawamba Agricultural High, the faculty, those in charge, the responsible ones, what they did was they took one mere mortal teenage girl and turned her into a social pariah. Can you imagine walking into that high school every single day being her, with everyone looking at you, with the other seniors going, thanks a lot, Dyke, you're the one who canceled our prom, with all the teachers looking at you and you look back at them knowing they're the ones who basically saw you and said, she's a problem. I remember when I found out I was heterosexual. I think it was 1967 or 1968. It was not my choosing. I never checked that box and sent it in to Charles Atlas. I like tireless legs, big pecs, and heterosexuality. It was this thing happened around Christmas time of 1960-something. My mother had this weird agreement with her stepfather, a man I never met. His name was Doc, apparently. He drank himself to death. I never met him. But she would send him every year the Playboy Christmas edition. And she would send this booby magazine up to New York City where apparently he lived. One day, I saw it on a table, and I took it back to my little room, and I started going through the glossy pages of girls going, hi! And I don't know, I did not know at that time why I wanted this magazine more than Batman, more than cake, more than life itself. And I could not stop looking at it. I felt this amazing warmth coursing through my body, which had never happened before. And I'm 7. I had not the knowledge to deal with the information, but some primordial thing started kicking in my stall, as it were. And I'm like, going to go, like, wow, this is it. This is, whoa! And I hear like angry footsteps down the hall. Where's it? Henry! Get away from me. I remember becoming very mature at that moment. My voice lowered. Step away from my room. Step away from the magazine. Iris, which is my mom's name. Iris, I'm warning you. Go back to the kitchen, go back to your New Yorker magazine. Back, step away, get away! I'm like, no, yeah. I really need that magazine. Mom, please. Mom, 7. I really need that magazine back. I made my case. It is an outrage that you would take reading material away from a young person who's about to be literate. I can't believe it! And that's, I found out later, hey, you like chicks. And I think that for a homosexual person, the experience must be somewhat similar. One day, some kid, some boy, is looking at the Sports Illustrated Olympic special, and he sees the swimmers and says, hey now, my goodness. And is there anything wrong with that? No. And so when you make this girl into this social enemy, you basically ruin the young years of this person's life. And this made me outraged, and I'm sure all of you would be mad at this too. And I remember many, many years ago when I was a young man, I went to high school, and I went to an all-boys prep school. I wore that miserable uniform, black shoes, black socks, straight pants, white shirt, blue and gold striped tie, blue blazer, and all my classmates were boys. And it was awful. I had no fond memories of it. And I remember 1970-something, I went into high school as a 10th grader, and it was like early September, still sweltering hot outside, yet you have to wear the uniform, you sweat through his misery. And I noticed that a few of our seniors were gay. But I had pretty good gaydar as a young man, being a city boy. And I said, well, you're gay, but you're going to be able to hold it in rather well. You're gay, you have a little bit of gay flame coming. You want to blow that out because your peers will not approve. And then there was this one poor bastard. His last name was Mulberry. Mulberry was gay as hell. Mulberry, somewhere over the summer of 76 or 77, fairly flamed on. He exploded like the singer in Rammstein. And he walks onto the campus. Hello, September. Let's get it on. And I saw him. I'm like, no! I'm going to get the seal. Put him out. And have a custom-made asbestos uniform made for him to keep the fire from coming forth. Because this kid would never survive senior year being that gay in a school full of assholes. And so for some reason, this Mulberry fellow was put in my 10th grade history class. And they usually kept the seniors of the seniors and everyone else with their own grade. But for some reason, this guy was demoted 2 grades down into my history class. History was taught to me by disinterested athletic coaches. And they would bring athletic coaches to my campus because they could teach sports. But in order to be a coach at the school, you had to be a teacher. So they say, you'll teach history. I don't teach history. I teach young men to kill each other on the field. Well, this year you're going to teach history. How do I do it? You read 5 pages ahead of the class, and you are Nostradamus. And you never had to call your history coach sir. You could just call him coach. You could turn history class into a study hall by just raising your hand. Coach, start talking. Can we have a study hall instead of history class? Duly noted. And everyone goes back to getting ready for their chem exam. And the only history I ever learned was one coach was able to pull his head out of Sports Illustrated and he said, Nebuchadnezzar, live it, learn it, love it. And that was history class. It sucked. I became a fan of history later. Anyway, we got Mulberry in the class, and one day my history coach writes on the blackboard a huge M and a huge O and a little berry, making fun of Mulberry's name like Ho-Mo-Berry. And the entire class explodes in laughter. It's the funniest thing they've ever seen in their life. Except for Mulberry, who turns 9 shades of crimson in humiliation, and me. And I'm not Mr. PC, but I thought that was pretty bad. And so everyone laughs, and Mulberry's damn near in tears. And then the history coach takes the roll, and he has to Mulberry's, and he goes, Mo, and the kid has to say, here, and he does. The class explodes in laughter again, and then the class lets out, and all my douchebag peers run into the hallways and tell every single person in the school what the history coach just did. Basically green lighting any kind of physical aggressive behavior towards this kid. If the teacher did it, the students can do it. And by the end of the day, Mulberry had his head flushed down the toilet at least 3 times. And eventually, several days later, he went into his dorm room, locked himself in, and slashed his wrists and tried to kill himself. Thankfully, he's not a very good cutter, and he survived himself. But he left the school almost immediately. It was right before the Christmas break. And we took our Christmas exams. We came back, and not a word was ever said about Mulberry ever again. It's like he never existed. And as an older guy looking back at all of this, I think the appropriate measure would have been to drag all of us into the school gymnasium and sit us down and say, you know, Mulberry, he tried to kill himself because of what you did and what that history coach did. Is anyone here proud of their behavior? Hands up for how proud you are. Of course, none of us would have raised our hands. Some teacher should have read us the riot act for a solid 2 hours about how that kind of behavior is not acceptable anywhere. But they let it slide, making homophobia fairly okay in my school. This was a polarizing and crystallizing moment for the young me. I saw that as being very, very wrong. It became a hot button issue in my young life. That and racism become 2 banes of my existence. This kind of discrimination, it keeps us from having what I want to have on this planet, the 24/7 P-Funk Ramones block party, which I think we can have.